All right, good evening, everybody. This is David Rutz with David Allen Capital and DAC Healthcare. And it's my pleasure this evening to bring to you two special guests who will be covering our webinar this evening. And these special guests are involved with the SBA Freedom Protect Healthcare Plan. They've got some slides that they brought forward that we're going to be presenting to you this evening. But before I begin, I just want to begin by saying this. As you all know, agents, longevity representatives, and DAC agents, we believe business owners are rock stars. And this plan was created to help serve the business owner community, to allow them to be heroes to their employees, to give them health care at a more reasonable price. Healthcare coverage that employees can afford, healthcare coverage that employers could even afford, yet be ERISA compliant and ACA compliant. You'll learn what that means in a minute, but just means compliant for the employers. But it's real interesting because this evening we have an ambassador from longevity. That means he's in the top 5 producing agents. He and his wife are superstar team builders and leaders for longevity. There's over 100,000 active representatives in longevity. They're in the top 5 producers. They're great leaders. As a couple, they're a powerhouse. Both of them are asked to come speak throughout the country on behalf of longevity to help uplift representatives. If you know anything about the home-based business space, when you can inspire and lead others and you focus on inspiring and leading others, you have a lot of success. And Scott and Juliet Fardulis are amazing at that. They're great people. And Scott Fardulis is the one who actually brought me this plan. Why? Because he was using this plan. He was using this healthcare plan, and we were actually looking for a healthcare product to launch that didn't require an insurance license. So we were reviewing several of the co-op plans out there. When Scott brought this to our attention, we looked at it. They made some modifications to make it even more competitive than some of the services we were looking at. And it's just been a great success. But we wanted Scott as the ambassador with longevity. He's strategized, he's helped people build successful businesses. He's in the revenue sharing pool, he and his wife. I don't want to sound discounting to them as a couple. They're a powerhouse couple. But we invited him to speak today because he brought this forward. He and his family have been using this healthcare plan. So I'm going to introduce him first. And I want you all to know that this is for your own use, so you can use this yourself, but it's also to give you the benefits of this service so you can go market it to business owners you know. But with that, I invite to our stage this evening, our webinar stage, live with all of you, Mr. Scott Fardulis, Ambassador with Longevity and Business Owner.
Thank you so much, David. It's really exciting to be here with you tonight and all of the people from around the nation tuning into this call right now. And I'd love to set the stage, if I could, just for a couple of minutes so that everyone can appreciate who they're about to hear from. And then we all love expectations. And once I've introduced you to someone else that I have a lot of respect for, I'll come back on the back end of that and wrap up with a little bit of business strategy. In the meantime, here's a little stage setting. So it was June of 2018. I got a phone call from a really good friend of mine that I'd known for many years, really close relationship. And he said, Scott, I'd love for you to take a look at something that has to do with healthcare. Now, I need everyone to know that that's a really interesting ask of me because I'm very jaded and almost anti, if you will, healthcare anything. Here's why. Back in the late 1990s and into the early 2000s, I ran a company that was rather large. It was multi-stated. We had over 250 full-time employees, and we had over 100 part-time employees and over 50 volunteers that put in, 10 to 20 hours a week into our company. That's a lot going on. But here's what's ironic about this is, every year we had healthcare agents that would come into our office and say, Mr. Fardulis, we're so excited to show you what we can do for you this year. And we'd all go sit in the conference room, all of our decision makers, and we would listen to a presentation from our current healthcare providers. And after they would leave, I would always sit there and I'd almost scratch my head thinking, did they just do something for me or did they do something to me? I oftentimes was confused about that. And what I mean by that is every year our annual budget would increase somewhere between 7 and about 15%. That budgeted line item around healthcare costs and benefits, our premiums would go up so astronomically large that it was almost a nightmare every year to figure out, how to put that into our budget. Well, for those reasons, I had a really good friend of mine that came and said, Scott, if people would just invest like $1,500 a month for 30 years with interest, you'd have over $1 million. And I thought, man, that is tremendous how that works out. And the reason why that number is significant is because our family was spending about $2,000 a month on healthcare coverage for our children. And when I thought about the deductibles and the premiums that we were paying, I thought, wow, if we were just putting that away into a financial strategy or into a good interest-bearing account, we'd meet that statistic. But instead, I scratched my head because the premiums of our healthcare policies were going out the door, never to be seen or heard from again. Like, we couldn't call on that money if we really needed it or times got tough. No, sir, that money was going someplace else. So we ultimately relied on self-insurance, just basically putting money aside. And then here I get this phone call from a good friend last June of 2018, and he said, I'd like for you to look at a healthcare plan. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to rip this thing to shreds in about 2 seconds. Well, when I looked at it and saw it, in fact, I did the exact opposite. I knew what I was looking for. I knew the troubled spots in healthcare. I knew why I felt the way I did about it. And everything that gave me the EBGBs actually put me at ease. And I kept perking up like, no way, no way. Are you kidding? Is this for real? You've got to be kidding me. I was that surprised by it. So I called back my friend and I said, I just have one question. Is this like wishful thinking, or is this something we can take advantage of right now? He said, Scott, you can do this right now. And I said, would you do me a favor? I want my family activated on this plan, and this coverage, this health benefit plan, I want this right now. And we did. We implemented it into our household. I can tell you that for the last 17 months, our family has been fully covered with the plans that you're about ready to hear from tonight. So who is the man you're about ready to meet? His name is David Jones. David Jones has about 35 plus years of full-time experience at the highest levels possible around healthcare, health policies, health insurance. He's helped, get laws approved around the topic of healthcare. He is like the real full-time deal in healthcare benefits. And so I trust him implicitly. And, when he says something, I listen. He's like E.F. Hutton. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's talking about. And what you're about ready to hear is going to set you back in your seat or either throw you off the front edge of it because you're so interested and excited. I can assure you it's like nothing you've heard before. And the reason you haven't heard about it before is it hasn't existed until this plan came to the forefront. So that's who David Jones is. He's a great friend of mine, somebody that I trust with my life, somebody that I, respect implicitly around a lot of topics, but in particular, healthcare coverage and healthcare benefits. So on that note, I'd love for you to hear directly from David Jones. I'd like for him to show you what the whole nation is getting up in arms and excited about now with the SBA Freedom Plans, and why you should be excited to have them at your disposal and at the forefront of your fingertips. So here is David Jones, and I thank you, David, for being on the call with all of us tonight, and we're looking forward to hearing what you have to share.
Thank you, Scott, and I appreciate the introduction and all the nice things you said. That's great, and you're right. You're the first person I went to introduce this product to, and I greatly appreciate you and David Rutz, and we spent a lot of time and effort, like David said, in revamping things and putting this whole program together and bringing it out so it could be not only a benefit for the longevity and the David Allen Capital reps, but it could also be a benefit for them to put into their portfolio for marketing. And like Scott said, my background has been health benefits. I've been doing this since 1974, and there's been a lot of frustration along the way. And like Scott was referring to, the high deductibles, the high premiums. And so everybody was trying to find a solution to the problem. And I was very fortunate to meet a gentleman 3.5 years ago and sit down with him, and with my experience in the small employer group arena and also the large employer group arena, that I knew that there had to be some type of program out there that we could put together that would benefit each and every individual, and not only the employer, but the employees as well. And that's why this program is quite a selection. And one of the things I'm going to do as we go through this, I'm going to also give you some exciting news that's getting ready to happen to this plan that's even going to make it a greater plan. And it should be announced tomorrow. So, but I will just kind of give it to you, some information on it tonight. But the SBA co-op, what we did, or what I did, I formulated a co-op and incorporated it in the state of Colorado. The co-op is incorporated in Colorado. The ERISA medical program is incorporated here in Colorado. And what gives us a very unique part about this plan is many things. And the one thing, it is an ERISA document. And so the ERISA is not health insurance. If you want to go to the next slide, David, here it tells you about the SBA co-op. We basically are the administrator of the plan, and what people do, they join the co-op. An employer would join the co-op. The co-op is only $24 a year, and it's figured in their monthly fees and their monthly billing, and it's a $2 a month to be a member of the co-op. But what's really unique in this program is, as the employer joins the co-op, their employees automatically become members of the co-op, just like Longevity and David Allen Capital are members of the co-op. You, as a representative of Longevity and David Allen Capital, you do not have to pay the $24. You automatically come in as a member of the co-op under their umbrella. So that makes it a very unique program. And the ERISA healthcare plan is part of that membership. You cannot purchase the benefit program unless you're a member of the SBA co-op, which is a small business agency co-op. Okay, the next slide shows here that the ERISA, what it stands for, the Employment Retirement Income Security Act of 1974. ERISA is, and a lot of people I talk to, they go, well, how does the medical benefits apply to pensions and 401ks? It does not apply to that. ERISA is the same federal organization that they govern over your pension plans, over your IRAs, everything has to do with pension. And what we did, we took the ERISA document and we put medical benefits in it. And as you can see in this last part here, ERISA regulated healthcare plans, they are not regulated by the state insurance commissioner. We are regulated by the federal government. Here are the employer participation requirements. They must join the co-op before they can even start signing up any of their employees in the plan. And what's really unique about the employer plan and the benefits for the representatives is that each and every one of you can go in there and sign up for this program as a DAC agent or a longevity representative. You basically can go in there. You do not have to join the co-op like the employer does, but the employer signs up and has to join a co-op. You're already part of the co-op, so you can buy the plan without having to pay the membership fee. So the next slide will show these are the comprehensive health coverage, and these are some really high points of the plan. Number one, we have low premiums. We have no deductibles, no medical underwriting in our plan, no pre-existing condition exclusions on the base plans, no waiting periods on the base plans. We also have a Carrington dental and vision discount program with the plan, and LASIK surgery discounts are also in this dental and vision program. So that's part of the benefit when you purchase the plan. We use the PPO network of First Health. This is about 99% of all the doctors and hospitals all throughout the United States. And when a person signs up for this plan, they just go to the First Health website. They can see if their doctor or hospital is in the plan that they wish to participate with. Okay, on the next slide, we have 4 different plans, and here are some of the benefits that run through those plans. We cover primary care and specialist office visits. We have 24-hour virtual clinic. That 24-hour virtual clinic is a very unique part because I know some of you are familiar with ColoDoc. This is a little different than ColoDoc. You go in, you register yourself with the clinic, and whenever you need to have a medical care and you want to talk to a medical doctor, you call this number and they can actually service you because they now have your medical information. So they can order you a prescription drug, or they can recommend that you go on and see your primary care physician. And the other unique thing I like about this program is if you need to, they feel that you need to talk to a specialist, instead of going and having to pay a specialist fee, they will set you up to talk to a specialist with no charge. There's no charge for that service. We cover prescription drugs, in and outpatient hospitalization. We also cover medical imaging and x-rays, emergency room and ambulance, urgent care facilities are covered, and durable medical equipment. And we have the ACA preventive care, which is the minimum central coverage. I'll cover that in one of the slides coming up here. So on this slide here, this is the MEC program, the minimum central coverage, and it has to be in the network, the First Health network, but all these wellness benefits are covered at 100%. And as you can see, wellness, if you look at the brochure, you'll see all the wellness routine exam, physical exam is covered at 100%. You don't pay a deductible or any co-insurance for that. On the next slide, here's all the 4 plans that we have to offer. We have Plan A, Plan B, Plan C, and Plan D. I've already ran through and explained all the different coverages that go through these plans. But if you'll see the PC office visits, co-pays, those are on the primary care physician. You pay a $20 copay for the first 3 visits in a calendar year. So you go in, you pay the $20, and then it's paid at 100%. But each plan A, B, C, and D are made up of different benefits. So if we'll go to the next slide, I'll highlight what is important in these and how these plans work. Each plan starts with a 50-50 co-insurance. You see Plan A, and you can see the maximum, it will go up to, on an individual, $7,500, on a family, $15,000. On Plan B, it's $20,000 and $40,000. And Plan C is $20,000 and $40,000 with an extra enhanced benefit. And I'll go more into that in just a moment on the enhanced benefit. And Plan D is the same way. Now, right here is where I want to point out something that's going to change. And it's a change for the good. This is a big plus, because what we're going to have starting in the next couple of weeks, Plan B, look at Plan B, it goes to $20,000. Plan B is going to have a buy-up option. Plan B will have a buy-up option where you can take that 20, you'll have that 20, it goes up to 20,000, and then it goes up, you can buy up to 250,000, you can buy up to 500,000, but for very minimum cost. And in that 250 and 500, it's going to be paid at 100%. There's no 50-50 co-insurance, no anything. It's just 100% past the 20,000. So if someone says, okay, I want additional benefits, then Plan B is going to have the buy up where you can buy up on that program. As you can see here, the co-insurance is 50% of the first 10,000 and then 20% of the next 10,000. And the maximum individual annual out of pocket could be $7,000 on an individual, $14,000. So let's say, for example, you bought up to $500,000. the most that you can be out of pocket as an individual, $7,000, because you're immediately going to start getting 50% of the coverage in the beginning. Okay, on the next page, we talk about the extra enhanced benefits. This is for outpatient, inpatient, and outpatient surgery and professional services. On Plan C and D, they have an extra coverage limits where Plan D will go all the way an extra 100,000 on an individual and 200,000 on a family. So if we go to the next slide, here, when we're talking to an employer about this program, this kind of gives you an idea of a breakdown of the cost. And let's go to the next page, David, and let's look at Plan C. If you look at Plan C, let's go across. Here is your fixed cost, which is $205. Here's your claim account. Okay, this has a claim account in it, which is $250 a month. This is what the employer, if they never utilize their plan, they can get the money back. So if you take the $250 plus the $205, it's $455 a month. But consider that, I always say this is like a savings account, because we had over 50 groups that we refunded money to just recently. And I had groups that were calling me and asking me what the money was for. They had forgot that they were putting money into this claim account and they didn't use it, so the dollars come back to them. So that's why it's called an ERISA self-funded program, because the employer is funding some of the claims, and those claims dollars come back to them when they don't use them. And when you're talking to an employer, one of the biggest questions you can ask the employer when you're going through and trying to get some information, when was the last time your health plan gave you back dollars? And most of them will tell you it never happens and it never will happen. Well, here with this ERISA self-funded program, it can happen. So let's go to the next page. Here is this is the basically where you can make a contact with our group, and we can help you put this whole program together and help you with the employers. And I'm glad to report, David, we've got several groups being enrolled right now with David Allen Capital, and it's really starting to work for those that are working with us. And I'm going to just use one example. I want to use it here today. My wife has been working with a pretty sizable group with a longevity representative out of Ohio, and they've been working on a pretty sizable group. And one of the things I really am excited about the gentleman that she's working with is the fact that he is really involved in getting the whole thing set up. So today he called, and he has a call set up for next Thursday with the president of the company, and they are very interested in doing something for January 1st, and he is very much involved in it. And I think the involvement of being involved with your prospect, and there's so many other things that you can sell these prospects. Once they become a client, then you can take them into any other services that David Allen Capital has to offer, and they are now your client, and they're going to be very pleased with this program. Now, what I'm going to do now is, David, can you explain the commissions and how the commissions are paid?
Yeah, let me just follow up on a couple things. And I know Scott has some strategy discussions. And for anybody who's new watching for the first time, David, hey, great job. Thanks for covering this. It is recorded, folks, and everything you saw is on your website. Some of you don't know this. Right on your screen, there's your website, dachealthcare.com/your ID number. So your replicated website is dachealthcare.com/ID number. And that will forward your clients, or you yourself can sign up and get credit. And if you become a member of this, like Scott and Juliet Fardulis did, they get $100 in QV every month on their service as well, because the family plan is $100 QV per employee per month. So if you sign up a company with, let's just say, 5 employees, the consumer plan, the individual plan has a certain QV, and the family plan has a certain QV. The family plan is $100. And so what that means, if there was 5 employees, you're doing $500 in QV per month just by signing that customer up. Not to mention you make retail profit. and the retail profit you make, it varies. It's either $12 an employee or $16 an employee per month for the life of the customer. So if you sign up let's just say an employer with 10 employees, and they're all on the family plan for simplicity, that's $16 per employee per month. There's 10 of them. You're going to make $160 retail profit every month for the life of the customer for referring them. You simply refer them to your website, dachhealthcare.com. The client goes through the website and they click on request a quote, and then they speak to Dave and his team. Of course, you want to be there to help and arrange conference calls and stuff like that, but Dave and his team take over the expertise for you, just like we do with every other business service we market. You don't have to become a professional at this. You don't have to get licensed. You simply refer clients and you get paid retail profit, you get QV, and you get BV. But before I go any further, I wanted to summarize two things and turn it over to Scott Fardulis, because I know he's been working on a strategy for this and been promoting a strategy. And we all know he's a superstar in the compensation plan. So I'd rather him share some things rather than me, and I'll take some questions. But before I do, a common question I get when someone talks about the claim fund being reimbursed is an employer, let's say you sign up a company, your neighbor who owns a company, they have 10 employees. They're all putting money into that claim fund. And if they don't use it all, they get money refunded to them. But what happens if they use more than the claim fund? And David, isn't it true that you've got something called reinsurance, which means if it goes above the claim fund, the employer is not liable to cover it? Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, we basically have a claim fund. It's reinsurance that is, and it's part of that set cost. And we basically set that aside. And so we have a reinsurance fund that if they do go over, they can go into that, and basically all the claims are covered. So there's no out of pocket to the member.
The individual member. And the second thing is, we're talking employers. Is this the case here with Longevity and DAC? DAC became the co-op member, and now every agent in Longevity and DAC can now utilize the insurance as an independent agent under the umbrella of us as the co-op member. And one of the strategies that Scott Fardulis mentioned to me is a real estate office. I want to clarify that I heard this correctly. If a real estate office, a broker in your town, Real Estate One, let's say, the brokerage signs up as a co-op member, all the real estate agents in that office could then sign up for this healthcare under that co-op. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Beautiful. I think that's just fabulous. But with that, I want to, Scott, I know you're chomping at the bit and I'm chomping. I got my notepad out. I'm looking forward to hearing how you've been utilizing this. I'm looking forward to, I don't want to spill the beans on certain things. So I'm just going to let you go, and then I'll close this out when we're all done. Scott Fardulis, the floor is yours, my friend.
Thank you so much, David. I got to tell you, it's interesting because here we are attempting to cram so much juicy information into a 30-minute call, and the reality is it should be like a couple of hours long because there's just such great things to talk about. Excuse me. And I know our time is short. So the thing that I want to cover right now is this right here. Remember, every single person you know is likely to either have no insurance whatsoever, or are completely underinsured, or they're paying too much for the insurance that they have right now. So those are the three categories of people that you're likely to come in contact with. Well, my wife and I have been involved in, the home-based business industry and entrepreneurial for over 30 years now. And of all the things that we've had come across our attention or captivate us, this is the thing that has captivated me the most. I'm going to tell you why. There's so many great things out there that people can promote or suggest to other individuals, but there's a test I like to do that really shows people the value that you have. If you take any product or service that you want to, ask yourself this question: how many people need something? And the second question you're going to ask yourself is, how many people know that they need that something? So we could take anything you want to, but let me show you. You'd have a really tough time. I don't even know if you could do it. I'm almost giving you a challenge to see if you could find anything else that answers correctly the way this does. If we take healthcare, okay, healthcare coverage, healthcare benefits like we're talking about, how many people need it? And the answer is everyone. How many people know that they need healthcare benefits? And the answer is everyone. If you put any other topic that you can create in your mind into the same set of questions, you're going to get at best about 50-50, meaning you might be able to say everybody needs it. However, not everybody knows they need it. And when everyone knows they need it and they need it, then you have a real winner. And healthcare, health plans, the ones that we're talking about, this is one of those things. So right off the bat, you have something very powerful at your disposal to work with. So here's what I'd like for all of you to do. Think about this. Since everyone needs it and everyone knows they need it, the problem is that everybody kind of shudders like I did at the thought of it, because they're going, oh my word, I'm sick of this topic. It's so bloody heck expensive. The premiums are so high. It's just breaking my bank. Or there's going, my goodness, why do I even bother paying premiums? Because I'm paying 100% out of pocket anyways with my deductible. So what gives? And that's kind of where we were at as a family, is why were we paying almost $25,000 a year in premiums only to have a $5,000 to a $10,000 deductible, meaning that if the broken arm came into play or the stitches came into play, we were paying 100% out of pocket. What would our life look like if we had, taken the money in those premiums and put it into an interest-bearing or investment account? I already told you what would happen with that. So don't you think that everybody on the planet would like to hear a different song that doesn't sound like the same old, same old? And the answer is they would love to. So here's what you do. If you went to people and just asked them a really friendly, obvious question, like, hey, David, what are you guys doing right now for healthcare? How are you taking care of you and your family? What plan do you have in place? It opens up a conversation that's very casual. It's something that anybody would talk about. It's not a foreign topic. And you're going to get a story from somebody at this point. So if I asked David this question, he would respond to me and probably tell me a story that included that they didn't have any insurance, or they were underinsured, or they were paying way too much and they were frustrated like I was. So if you hear that kind of a response from somebody, do you now understand that you have a solution at your fingertips through David Allen Capital to solve that challenge? Who wouldn't want to have lower premiums? Or in our case, lower rates? Who wouldn't want to have their rates go down? Who wouldn't want to have a plan as robust as ours that had zero deductibles? I hope everybody understands you have first dollar benefits to this program. And I hope you understand that the very first benefit you have is that we're basically buying down your bill through a discount program. 30 to 60% comes right off the front of your bill. Bingo. It's reduced. So now you might be looking at a $1,000 ER bill instead of a $2,000 ER bill. And at that moment, now your 50-50 co-insurance kicks in and you're only paying half of that amount. So in that example, you'd pay $500 out of pocket on a $2,000 bill if you had a 50% reduction through our program off of that hospital bill. That's an example of what happens. So that's a first dollar benefit. You get late or no dollar benefit through traditional healthcare or health insurance. So that's a big deal. No underwriting, no pre-existing conditions clauses, no open enrollment to have to deal with. When you mention these buzzwords to people, it gets their attention instantaneously because they've never heard of that before. And when you've never heard something before, it's like a new song on the radio that's got a catchy tune. You're driving down the street and all of a sudden you're like, hey, that's got a great kick to it. I like that beat. I like that rhythm. I like the tone. That gal's got a great voice, and you turn up the volume because why? You want to hear more. It's new. It's refreshing. It's different. It's not the top 40 thing you've been hearing for the last 20 years, although some of those songs are cool, but everybody likes to hear the new cool thing. That's what this is. The SBA Freedom Plans are the new cool thing. So number one, think about this. Every human being that you know is in the same boat as you. They want more for less, and they want better, and they want it yesterday. Now, what do you do about that? You have to get yourself to the place where you have a little bit of courage and some braveness going on, and you've got to ask that question. Hey, what are you guys doing for your healthcare plans now? How do you take care of you and your family when it comes to healthcare needs? listen for the story, and respond. Then understand that every person probably has a job, and they probably all have a job with an employer who is always, like I was in the story I opened this up with, always fretting about what you're going to do now and what benefits you're going to be able to afford and offer to your people. So if you could get in front of an employer with 5 people, 10 people, 100 people, 500 people, 1,000 people, that's right. Those kinds of businesses exist. I met last week with a gentleman and their attorney and their comptroller, their accountant, and the chief of medicine for a large company that owns 50 jails and prisons that are privately owned. 50 jails and prisons privately owned. They have thousands of employees. And they're like, are you kidding me? So I literally sat down with them and I showed them this good news. And they said, no way. Really? This is incredible. This is the best presentation we've ever said or ever seen, they said to me. And I was so happy to hear that. And you know, right now, they're thinking about not renewing and canceling the other things that they've had in place for years because this is so rock solid. And I even asked them, I said, you guys have heard of ERISAs, right? They've been around since like the mid 1970s. And their attorney looked at me and said, oh yeah, we've heard of ERISAs. Of course, they've been around forever and we love ERISAs. And I just smiled inside thinking, this is so cool. So they called me back today and they said, this is on the front burner for us. Nothing has a higher priority than this topic, and we love everything you've said. And so I'm sitting here, you know, biting at the bit, thinking, how cool is it? I've had like 2 conversations with them. I probably spent an hour of my life. I showed them what you've now seen. And now if they come on board, howdy doody, that's right, I said howdy doody, that all of a sudden maybe 1,000 people would onboard. And you know what that means? It means that all the people that pick individual plans, it would pay me $12 per month per person on an individual plan. And for every family plan, it would pay $16. Now here's the cool thing. It actually doesn't go in my pocket, even better. It goes in the pocket of somebody that we introduced to David Allen Capital. We brought them in, we introduced them to the concept, and so I'm mentoring them and tutoring them about this whole topic, and they immediately got a plan for themselves, and then they said, well, shoot, we work for a really big employer, and it's this employer with the prisons and jails, and they went to them and set that table. How happy do you think that couple's going to be if 1,000 or more people came on board and they were making either $12 or $16 every single month? I'll do a little math for you. Let's just say that 1,000 people, 50% of them, so 500 people were individual plans and 500 people were family plans. Let me do the math for you. If my math is right, the $12 plans would pay you $6,000 a month, and the family plans would pay you $8,000 per month. That's right, per month. Every single stinking month. Every month. That's $14,000 a month. How many conversations? 1.5. And that's right. So you talk about bang for your buck, where your time is now very, very valuable. It's not like you're going out and convincing somebody that they need something that they don't know they need. They know they need this. Remember what I said? Everything else you can think of probably isn't an everybody and everybody to those questions. It's probably some versus everybody. So that's a little math. Now what happens to the person who enrolled that? So what happens for me? So I enrolled this couple into David Allen Capital who brought their employer on board. They're happy. That's like big time money if that goes through. And if it doesn't, oh well, there's plenty of fish in the sea, because every business on every street corner has human beings that need individual plans, and some of those employers are gonna have to supply the benefits out there. That's why this is exciting, everybody. And David Rutz is one of my heroes. He's a smart guy. He understands business. He's savvy. He's in the world of services. And he was as excited as I was when I brought this to him. He said, holy smokes, Scott, do you know what we have at our fingertips? This is revolutionary. And David Rutz was so proud and excited to be able to bring this on board and offer this to the family of services inside of DAC. And I was happy to lock arms with him and make sure that it was successful out of the gate, and that you all knew what to do with this and how powerful it was to have at your fingertips. This is not a joke, guys. I'm gonna make a statement here. This is not an income claim, so hear that. Here's my disclaimer. What I'm about ready to say is not an income claim. I'm making no statements whatsoever to what may or may not ever happen to you. This is my opinion, and it's my opinion only. So we're clear about this. It's my opinion, and it's my personal opinion only. It could be worth junk, but I don't think it's worth junk. That's why I'm going to tell you what's on my mind. I think, personally, that if you were to take this as seriously as I sound right now and get out there and go have some fun with this and realize that this is like music to people's ears. That's right, like the new Top 40 song that just came out. It's music to their ears. I believe that what you could do and what you have at your fingertips is so profound and so powerful that this would very likely be one of the most successful things that you will ever have at your fingertips. That's my opinion. And I'll tell you this, after 31 years of being an entrepreneur and being in this type of arena, if you will, I believe that there is so much on the table right now that the next few years could reap higher rewards or gains than the last 30 years of my life. That's what I think personally is about ready to happen for me and my family. That's my opinion, and I said that's not an income claim. And so you can either, lean on that and say, yeah, that sounds about right, and there's a lot of merit to what Scott says, or you can ignore it. I would encourage you not to ignore this information. I would encourage you to get up and rise up and go run as fast as you can, because there isn't any competition right now. Do you understand that? There's no competition to you and this at this particular phase in time. So I thank you all for being here with us on this call tonight. Know that beyond the retail profits that are paid out, the regular commission structure of all the levels that gets paid out through DAC and longevity apply to everyone else. So thanks for your time, everybody, and have an amazing night. Back over to you, Mr. Rutz.
All right. Hey, thank you so much, Scott. I really appreciate that. I got a bunch of notes here on the screen, folks. You'll see again what Scott just mentioned. You get paid 12 to 16 bucks per employee per month. I want to clarify a couple things, and we got some great questions already that we'll ask Dave and you, Scott. So stick around a few moments. Just want to cover a couple things. Again, as I mentioned earlier, you simply get them to your website, but keep in mind there's QV and BV, as Scott just said. So for the people who don't understand this just means on your team, if you choose to build a team, you get paid a percentage of the BV in your team. If someone's got, like Scott mentioned, he brought in a friend and exposed them to the business of DAC, they're using the healthcare, but then they're the ones who talk to the big company. So that would be a level 1 referral for Scott. Scott's going to get paid 8% of all the BV on his first level. Well, if there's 100 employees at 80 bucks each, that's $8,000 in BV that he'd get 8% of. He makes 640 bucks every single month off that one customer, and the person who got the customer is going to be making quite a bit of money. 8 to 12 bucks. I'm sorry, 12 to 16 bucks per employee per month. So it can be very lucrative. You earn almost as much as the person who got the customer is the bottom line because of the BV pay plan. Again, you simply get them to your website. It's dachealthcare.com/your-ID. They click request a quote. Our experts take over from there, and you're notified by email that you've got a prospective client, and then you get status updates as we're going through. It takes quite a bit of time to sign up these customers, so don't think it's going to happen overnight. But once you've got them, you've got renewal, qualifying volume to help you qualify in the compensation plan. A couple things. The claim fund. The claim fund is available to employers. It's not available to us as individual DAC agents or longevity reps. The co-op gets that back. So that means DAC or longevity would get that back. Now, we intend to pass that back to our customers as reduced prices the following year. Okay, so we don't talk much about this, but don't think you personally get your claim back if you don't use it, because, unless you're an employer yourself. If you sign up as an employer plan, pay a co-op yourself, then you would get a claim fund back, but you have to have 2 or more employees. So how does your neighbor use this? Your neighbor's not in DAC, they're not in longevity, and they're not an employer. They're just an individual. Well, they would have to join David Allen Capital or longevity. It's all one company, right? They'd have to join us first. They have to be an independent agent with us before they can get our healthcare plan if they're not an employer. So what would I do if I wanted my neighbor to sign up? I would talk to them about the healthcare, and I'd let them know you simply have to become an agent with us. It's absolutely free to become an agent with DAC. You sign up in DAC. Once you're an agent, you can then join the healthcare plan. So there's just a two-step process there. If they're an employer, of course, they don't have to become an agent because they're signing up as a co-op plan themselves, but there must be two or more. So I just wanted to clarify that a little bit. Let me go to a couple questions we got here, and some great questions. Dave, I'm gonna send these to you for now. If it's strategy based, we'll go to you, Scott. Dave, first question is, if an employee signs up for the plan made available by the employer, and then the employee leaves the company later, do they take the plan with them? Do they stay on the plan, or must they maintain their employee relationship to keep the coverage?
Yes, they can take the plan. That's when COBRA comes in. So they can take the plan, and the employer just continues to collect the money from them, and they could stay on the plan for 18 months on COBRA.
18 months. Wonderful. Thank you. Great question and great answer. How are the premiums paid? Is it pre-tax and the employer withheld?
It's employer withheld.
Employer withheld. And is it considered pre-tax or no?
No, it's not considered pre-tax. No.
Okay. So employer withheld, of course, the employer could also choose to pay it and not withhold anything from the employee, or they can withhold 100% from the employee, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, employers, we have them, some of them participate $50 a month, some participate $400 a month. We got one right now that's coming in, and the employer's paying $400, and they can choose whatever plan they want. But for the employee's cost, for this in the single cost, they're paying $400. So then the employee can choose whatever they want. And if they choose the higher plan, Plan D, then that extra amount will come out of their check.
Okay, and you can do it any way you want as the employer. And by the way, guys, gals, if you're an employer out there and you're marketing health insurance and you give health insurance to your employees, you must cover half of it, where with this, you don't have to cover half. So some employers want to be heroes and offer health care, but they can't afford it. They just can't afford it. So here they could offer this to their employees and they don't have to contribute anything if they can't afford to. They always can, but they don't have to. So it opens their door. Another question. Are there minimum requirements for hours worked, or is that up to the employer?
That's up to well, 16 hours. Up to 16 hours is considered a full-time employee under ERISA.
Okay, so 16 hours. Would that mean an independent agent would have to be 16 hours as well?
No.
Okay, all right. How will we be impacted, reps and clients, if the ACA is repealed, or if we end up with this Medicare for all type coverage that people are talking about?
Well, to address the Medicare for all, one of the things that, and it's really big talk, because if they do Medicare, and if you look at the laws on Medicare, everybody has to start taking their Social Security check. There's 6 laws they're going to have to eliminate before everyone can get Medicare for all. And so, and that's that one part. And then the other thing is, when Obamacare came down, they never touched ERISA. The government has never touched ERISA on regulations or changing things. So we just put the MEC, minimum essential coverage, and the ACA qualifying benefit in the benefits of everything. And now, if you're 50 employees or less, you don't even have to be ACA qualified. There's no more penalties for that size of group. And so, so I don't see the government touching anything to do with ERISA. On the insurance side, I don't know what's going to happen there, because that changes all the time. But again, keep in mind, we are not insurance.
Okay, very good. All right, a couple of these I can answer in a moment. Okay, great point, Frank. How does one approach, Scott, can you give or Dave, can you give an answer? How would one approach a business owner to get them interested? Can you give us an example of what you'd say to a business owner that we can have on this recording?
Okay, sure. Okay, it's called prospecting. And one of the things I like is the cold call, the going in and cold calling on a group. And if you go in and you cold call a group, First of all, you introduce yourself. And the greatest thing about it is that with David Allen Capital, you represent you represent several business services in your portfolio. But one of these services that we have to offer is a medical benefit program that has no deductible and it has low cost as far as cost on the plan. Do you or do you not have a health plan now? And they're going to tell you, well, no, we don't, or yes, we are, or yes, we do. Okay, well, are you satisfied with it? And they're going to tell you yes, or they're going to tell you no. Well, one of the things I find in working with different companies from 2 employees to as many as 50 or 60, maybe even 100 employees, what I find is that there's always an interest in finding out what's new on the market. And we have a new program here that I feel that might be worthy of your time and energy to take a look at it. Do you have any objection to that? And if they say, no, I don't, well, when's a good time for me to get this general information so I can submit your group, your information to get a request for a quote and information for you and have it tailored especially for you. And then they'll give you a time and everything. So you're opening the door because healthcare is the biggest topic out there now. So you're just basically got 2 or 3 questions, you know, do you have a health plan now? Are you satisfied with it? Are you not satisfied with it? Most small companies are going to tell you, we have nothing because we can't afford the cost and we can't afford the high deductibles. That's what they're going to tell you.
Absolutely. And by the way, as an employer, currently I'm an employee, but when we were an employer offering healthcare, we just couldn't offer it. It just was too expensive to offer, so we just couldn't. We had our full-time team only, and a lot of our part-time and full-time staff, we didn't even mention it to them. I would have loved to be able to say to them all, hey, by the way, here's a plan that you can pay for yourself, but it'll save you a ton of money, and offer it to them. So a lot of employers out there, when they know they don't have to contribute half, would offer this. I know I'm one of those employers that would have done that in a second. I would have offered this to every one of our employees because I knew I wouldn't be on the hook for any of it because I couldn't afford to. And so many employers out there are just like that. Okay, I'm going to go through a couple of these really quick that I know the answers to, and then we're going to go to a couple back for you. For additional learning, you can go to the footer of the David Allen Capital website, the Agent Resource Centers. You can get that from the footer of the David Allen Services site or the David Allen Capital site. The footer, there's an Agent Resource Center, and you can learn more about the healthcare plans and brochures there. You can get a brochure there as well. We have drop cards coming. They were updated, and a drop card is basically a postcard that you can leave behind. Right now we have brochures you can use, but very soon you'll have a little drop card. They're a little more economical that you can purchase. I think they're $105 for 1,000 postcards front and back for handing out. A lot cheaper than printing out an 8.5 by 11 brochure. If an agent signs up, here's one for you, David. If an agent signs up and then their employer signs up later, can that agent then switch to the employer group to take advantage of the employer benefits? They're really the same unless he's talking about the employer paying for part of it. So can they move their coverage under an employer later?
Yes, they can. They can move their coverage over to an employer. Yes.
Beautiful. Okay. Will the Plan B buy-up cover chemo or other infusion drugs, and how about those currently covered? And how are those currently covered?
Okay. Well, basically, on the buy-up, I don't have the whole. I do know it's hospitalization. I do know that there's in hospital, out hospital with it. I will have all that information next week, and I can relate that. We'll be giving that all over to you, and on the regular medical program, the chemo, the base plan, it is covered, but on the in-hospital, out-of-hospital specialty services, the extra on all the plans, that is not covered because chemo is administered outside the hospital.
Yep. Okay. And by the way, that was Superstar Juliet that asked that, so you can talk with her offline about that once you know all the answers. If you find a person with a business, I can answer this myself. If an employer and one employee, can they sign up? Yes, it's a group of 2 or more. So yes, they could sign up as a co-op and then sign up their employee. So employee monthly changes based on plan picked and number of employees. So employee monthly changes, the amount the employer pays does change based on how many employees selected, yes. What info do we need to collect from them to do a quote? You'll see it on your website, Conrad. If you go to your website and click on request a quote, you'll see all the information's there. And it's best to have the customer fill that out if you can, because it's also agreeing to allow us to contact them. We've run into problems with DAC agents filling that out for their customers when it comes to funding. And then we call, and then they're complaining that we're calling from a do not call list and feel like we're telemarketing them and violating the do not call list. So we don't call someone unless the customer fills out that form themselves. So we recommend you have the customer fill that form out at your replicated website. But if you're collecting the information from them, you can get that right on the website, what they're going to need. I would even sit down with them and pull out your iPad or pull out your smartphone and fill out the information right there in front of them so they know they're doing it. Do we need to re-sign the business up annually? No, they just pay the co-op annually on their own, correct, Dave? It's automatically done?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. That's the same question. My son just turned 26 and dropped from my plan. Can he use this? The answer is yes, he can. What does he need to do? Well, if he's Lorenzo, if he's already an agent, he just goes into to dachhealthcare.com, clicks on the left side where it says DAC agents and longevity agents, click here. If he's not already an agent, he just needs to sign up under you as an agent and then go forward and do that same process. Fill out the form and he'll sign up. It's exactly what I did with my son. Can the employee join DAC and still keep the plan if they leave their company? Yes, they can, Brian. Matt, I'm going to hold that one to talk to David because he didn't mention it, so I don't want to put him on the hook here for that. So you guys can talk directly about that. Once someone is on Medicare, they no longer qualify for this. So could it not be used in place of a supplemental plan? Is that correct?
If you're employed, then you can waive on Medicare, you can postpone Medicare and then use this plan. The only thing is, and I'm just, Medicare supplements are less costly than having a regular full-blown medical plan. And if you're over 65 and you're on Medicare, I highly recommend you get a Medicare supplement because it's going to be less and it's going to coordinate with the Medicare. And so they can buy this, but they're not going to utilize the plan very much because Medicare covers a lot of stuff. It's the parts that Medicare don't pay. I mean, just use an example. I'm on Medicare myself, and I pay $46 a month for my Medicare supplement. So, I'm just saying that, and it's better for them to do a Medicare supplement than use this plan.
Got it. A couple more questions, and then Scott Fardulis wants to share something. I want to share something, and we'll be done. Does DAC handle withholding for the premiums? No, they don't. What happens is the employer pays it directly to the company. SBA Freedom Protect bills the employer pays it, and then deducts whatever percentage from the employee's paycheck. You don't have to handle collecting anything. SBA Freedom does that with the employer. David, here's a question. Someone said, do you know if there's more individuals or families who are signing up for this?
We don't track it that way. We just track it as, the number of individuals.
Yeah.
Like single family, then it's each child and everything. That's what comes in through the reports. I can't tell you.
Guys, I can tell you that looking at what DAC has done thus far, it's about 60% are families and 40% are individuals, but that's a small sample size. But so far, it's more families than individuals.
Right.
Can you clarify what inpatient versus outpatient is? I mean, that's more of a health insurance question or health care, but if you want to cover that quickly here.
Well, some surgeries require you to go in for in-hospital and stay overnight. That's in-hospital. Outpatient surgery or outpatient surgery is when you go to an outpatient clinic and the surgery's done and you go home.
Okay. Here's a great question. What is the most popular plan that we're marketing and why?
Plan C. Plan C, Plan B and C are the most popular. Matter of fact, they run side by side, is because they're lower in cost and they cover majority of the bills that people have each and every year. You got to remember that 80% of the American people have less than $8,000 in bills, hospital bills, in a year's time.
Folks, did y'all hear that? That was big for me when I first started talking with Dave, because I was worried about, the $50,000 and $100,000 coverage. And although we offer that at the higher plans availability, 80% are less than $8,000 a year. So we can cover that at a very low monthly cost, first dollar coverage. It's very big. And Scott Fardulis said something. He said there's a discount to the price, and I just want to clarify that, and then I'm going to give it back to Scott and Dave, and I do have a parting point to wrap this up. But when he said the discount, the PPO plan, folks, if you go in and you break your wrist and you go into emergency, you're going to pay, and you don't have insurance, you're paying a cash price. And let's say that cash price is $2,500 to x-ray and set your cash, and you're overnight in the hospital, whatever, $2,500. That's the cash price. You go in with our card, you show the card, and you don't pay anything right now. You show the card. They bill you if you are going to be liable for anything. So it's just like insurance. You show the card, and now because it's PPO, there's a discounted price for that, all those x-rays and setting of that cast, and anything that you're doing, there's a discounted price. So maybe that $2,500 is only going to cost $1,200, and then your coverage covers half. So that's why Scott was saying that price breaks that down. Don't forget, if nothing else, even if you had to pay 100% of your cost and had no co-insurance, even if you had to pay 100%, just the cash price versus the PPO price, it's worth the premium. That's what I believe. And so it's very big savings to have a PPO price and pre-negotiated price for an x-ray or broken arm or appendicitis or whatever those things are. They're all pre-negotiated with the PPO network. So, and Dave, correct me if I said anything incorrect there. That's what I believe to be the case. Is that accurate, what I just said?
That's very accurate. Yes, it is.
Thank you. And Scott, anything you want to share after everything you've heard, and any parting points you make before I end this webinar tonight?
I'd love to. For the next 6 weeks, we're all going to be in the same boat, meaning around lots of holiday parties, Christmas, Thanksgiving, food, family, friends, relaxing, sports, and gifting. One of the number one topics that comes up in conversation is, hey, what are you up to now? What are you doing? How's your work going? How's your job? How's your year been? How's 2019 been for you? We all need to get to a place where we are completely confident and we're convicted with like full-on belief about what really the power is that lies in your fingertips. So, I think you all need to practice saying this so you don't get tongue-tied when it's your turn to answer that question. They go, hey, John, hey, Susan, hey, Sarah, hey, Brittany, what are you up to now? You need to answer with confidence and say something like, you know what? I'm involved with healthcare and healthcare plans, and we have like highly discounted rates, oftentimes 25 to 50% less than a lot of competition, and we have no deductibles. Can you believe that? And just watch what happens when people look at you and they think, oh my goodness, could that possibly be real? And they hope it's true, right? They hope it is. And they want you to be telling the truth. And so this is your chance. How many times do people say, hey, what are you up to now? Or how's your thing going? And you don't know what to say. You don't know what to tell them about. You don't know what difference to make. And so many times we say stuff that is silly. And the reason it's silly is because it can't change anybody's world. It doesn't benefit them in any way what came out of your mouth. So be cognizant of that and realize you've got a shot. You've got a shot right now to actually say something profound that will be heard, that will make a difference, that will be received very, very well, where it's going to be beneficial to them and it's going to be beneficial to you. Now that's on the private side. What about these businesses? So it's easy for people to say, oh my goodness, I'm going to go talk to all these companies. Yeah, it's easy to say that. Let's look at the reality of that. The best thing you could do, seriously, is to focus on individuals, okay? Because individuals will lead you to companies. So if you're wondering, how do I get into businesses with all these employees and all these people that need healthcare? Well, the answer is it's better for you to have somebody lead you in there than it is for you to go in on your own. They don't know you. You don't have any credibility. Who are you? You're just the next person picking up the phone and winging it. It's a lot more powerful if you have somebody make an introduction. And why would they do that? I'll tell you why. It's because you impress them first and they're like, no way, this is so flippin' awesome. And then when they realize how great it is, it's like, could you imagine what a hero you would be if your boss or your employer were to take on this same plan and offer it to everybody? And they'd say, wow, Mr. Boss Woman or Boss Man, where did you hear about this? And then they drop your name and they're like, oh, we found out about it from so-and-so, a private person. You know how good that makes somebody feel when they get credit for something? So go to the individuals who lead you to the businesses. And by the way, you probably work for somebody too. Who's your boss? Who's your employer? Who's your decision maker? Go to them and don't be ashamed or shy or bashful. Now's your shot. You can change your company, you can change your family, you can change all the people around you, and guess who wins? The answer is everyone. It's not one person that wins. The individuals win that are impacted, the companies win that are impacted, and you win. You're impacted in a really big way. So this is a big time in the season for all of you to have more stability in your business than you've ever had with anything else. This is the best auto ship. It's the best consistency. Listen, people will stop doing everything else before they drop their healthcare plan. This is the last thing that people quit when things get interesting or things get tough. It's their healthcare. They'll hold on to this through thick and thin, and it happens every month. Whereas some things people make decisions around, it's only a sometimes purchase. This is an every month purchase, and that's why it's here to stay. So thanks everybody, and thanks for having me on this call tonight, Mr. Rutz.
Thank you, Scott. Hey, great stuff. Your wonderful partner, Juliet, mentioned a couple comments to me offline, so I want to just share these and then we'll wrap this up. I love what you just shared, and I echo what you said about getting out there and starting with individuals. And of course, what we're teaching on a lot of our agents who focus on calling on B2B, marketing to businesses, on business services, we teach simply introduce yourself, inform them of what we've got, and encourage that they check out what we're offering. And when the time is right, they'll check it out as long as they know. They can say no, but they need to know we exist. They can say no, but they need to know that you can help point them in a direction that can save them a bunch of money and help them be an employer or a hero to their employees. Just like the payment processing, they can say no, but they need to know we can save them money. Funding, they can say no, but they need to know we can get them capital to fuel the growth. Juliet just wanted me to mention about the PPO network. There's over 4,000 docs, and as Dave mentioned, it's owned by Aetna, which is huge. And they can check out, as Dave mentioned, they can go to firsthealth.com to see a list of all the doctors in their area. And you'll see that in most areas, there's a good hospital and good doctor, and probably your doctor's even in it as well. So with that, a lot of people are commenting on the webinar. This is recorded. We will put this in the DAC Agent Resource Center. It'll take a day for it to process and get there, but this will be a new video that's linked there. So share this with your team. Go back and watch it again and again. Everything you've seen is on the website. And I can just tell you that, hey, we're just scratching the surface here, guys. I want you to do some numbers, put some numbers in your head. If you just focused on this, if you had nothing else, and you focused on this and stayed focused on it for the next 4 years part-time, but you had 1,000 employees using this healthcare coverage, you didn't land a big company like Scott's talking about right now. Just 4 years part-time, like going to college. 4 years part-time, you get to 1,000 employees, and they're all individuals. None of them are family plans, which is not possible. They're all individuals. So you're making the minimum $12. Well, $12 times 1,000 employees, $12,000 residual income, $144,000 every single year residual income by helping to put people in a better place with their health care. Part-time, 1,000 employees over 4 years. Show me another college education plan where you can come out and have a residual income of 100 grand plus after 4 years. It does not exist. It does exist here, and that does not count building your team. How about teaching your team? What we teach the DAC agents is we have something called a client resource sheet. Client relationship sheet. It has 30 names on it. And as you're meet, greeting, and informing business owners and collecting business cards and business development, shaking hands, and you inform people what you're doing. This is all business development is. You add them to your list and you make sure you build a relationship with them. You don't just try to sell them insurance or healthcare or payment processing or funding or meal replacement shake. You don't just try to sell them. You build a relationship with them. And then when they need healthcare change, they'll come to you. When they need funding, they'll come to you. When they need payment processing, they'll come to you. Whatever it is they need, you're going to become their source because you have a relationship with them. And if you can teach your team, for every person who has a sheet of 30, you know you're going to have 2 or 3 healthcare clients on there. 2 to 3 healthcare. Out of those 30, you're going to have 10% of them get your healthcare and offer it to their employees because they don't have to cancel their insurance they're offering. This can be an add-along. It does not have to replace what they're offering. It has to be, it can be a supplement of what they're offering or another offering for their employees. They don't have to cancel everything they're offering. They can offer this in addition to what they have. And maybe you only get 3 out of the 25 employees to select it, but there's 3 more customers toward your 1,000. And what happens when you duplicate that through a team? Not just you yourself, but why not shoot to get 1,000 employees over the next 1 year, 2 years, 4 years part-time? And then what if you had a team of just 5 who did that? Do you realize that for every person in your team that you help make 100 grand a year residually off of healthcare alone, from personal customers alone, for every person you help do that, you are making about a third of what they're making. So you're about making about 30,000 for every person you help make 100. So in that example, when I said you're making 144,000, you'd be making about 50,000 off each one of those individuals. How about helping 3 people get to 100 grand, 6 figures? See, you don't need to build a team of 60,000 people to make 100 grand in this company. You can do it by personal customers alone. That's what business services allows. That's why when Scott Verdulis brought me this service, I was excited about. When Juliet told me her experience of using this service, I was excited about. When I met David Jones, I was excited about. Wade Cordell had a service we were going to launch, a healthcare service. We were just about to launch it, and then this one came along. And so we were able to compare apples to apples and make sure we had the best plan. And here we are, here you've got it. Let's get out there and change some lives with it. Let's offer it up, and let's not drift away from this enthusiasm of the common sense business model you have to fix your retirement, set up your retirement, change your, hey, you get out of college and you don't want to have to take that job working 50, 60 hours. You don't have to. While you're working through your college, do this part-time, and let's get your client numbers up. Let's get your client numbers up. Let's get your employees and users of this healthcare customer up. Get to that 1,000. Why stop there? Get to 2,000, 3,000, and let your residual income drive the heck out of your numbers. I appreciate every one of you being here this evening. Our attendance is actually higher than it was 15 minutes ago, so thank you all for being here. I know more questions have come in. I'm not going to get to them now. We'll answer them offline, but hey, appreciate you all. David Jones, great job. Thanks for founding this company. Scott Verdulis, fantastic job. Thanks for having the courage to introduce this to us, and thanks for your leadership and longevity, and of course, DAC Services. God bless you all. Thanks for being with us this evening. The webinar is officially concluded.